Hey Facebook world, and YouTube, it's Vicky Midwood here, the Addiction and Disordered Eating Eliminator, and I'm jumping on today because I kind of wanted to follow up from what I posted yesterday about why we stay stuck in our disordered eating, in our alcohol dependence, and just in the patterns that we've created for ourselves, and then we feel that we don't know how, or we're not strong enough, or we don't have the willpower to change things. And I talked about there being a payoff for us saying that we want to change, but then not actually doing something about it. And I know for a lot of people, that's a bit too close to the bone, but it needs to be, because the reality is when we say we want something, and then in the next breath almost, we then say why we cannot have it. What we're unconsciously doing is recognizing that there is a payoff to us staying as we are. And it may not seem obvious, but this is something that I work through with my clients, and it's a very poignant session that we go through. Now, obviously, we don't start off with this because it's a little bit too much, but they have awareness of their patterns and behaviors by the time we get to this. So once you've got an awareness of just what you do and why you're doing it, only then can we start to take responsibility for it. And that means being absolutely truthful and absolutely honest about what the payoff is. And for some of us, and I'm saying us because it was for me, I quite liked the whole fact that I was different to other people. And my issues, I'm not going to call it an illness because I don't like to think of it like that. It was my way of coping with life stresses. But my issues led to me feeling in some ways superior than other people, because I believed that I was somehow stronger than them, somehow better than them, because I was controlling what I was eating, I was exercising, I was fitter than they were, I was stronger than they were, and all that kind of stuff. The reality, of course, was I wasn't, because I was kidding myself, and I was binging, and I was getting drunk to the point of blackout. So I wasn't any of those things, but in my own head, I believed that when I was a fitness instructor and stood in front of a class and people were looking at me, that they were looking at me with some kind of sense of admiration and inspiration and wanting to kind of have what I had and look how I looked. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do know that that was what was keeping me stuck. When I look back, my whole thinking was very much based on, I want to be better than you. Now, is that part of my background? Absolutely. Yeah, I was brought up with a father particularly who believed that unless you're first, nobody remembers who you are. And that must be terrible, to not be remembered for who you are. So I was kind of primed, if you like, to always strive to be first. Now, is that a bad thing? No. What he was trying to do was to encourage me to always do my best, which is no bad thing for anybody. But I interpreted it as, if I wasn't the best, I was insignificant. Now, that's my interpretation. But because of that, I used it to fuel my sense of insecurity in my own abilities and this kind of delusional idea that somehow I was better than other people. I picked up the language from my parents, there's no doubt about it. My dad was a Yorkshire man, and he would call people, various names, and he didn't mess about. And if somebody didn't agree with him, and I think this is really crucial, if somebody didn't agree with him, then they were a blithering idiot, right? Or an imbecile. And that's because he was really insecure in himself, and he needed to believe that he was more knowledgeable and was better than. And so I learned that behavior unknowingly. Now, I was fortunate enough to have a conversation with my dad just before, well, a couple of years before he decided to take his own life, which is a completely other story. And please don't comment about that, because he wanted to do it, and I knew that that was his plan, and I was fine with it. So it's not an issue. But here's the thing. he, before he got to that stage, was very, very open and honest with me about how insecure he had been and how a lot of how he behaved when I was growing up was bravado. And he needed to do it to boost himself up because he didn't have anybody else. Now, this is how we create the patterns that we've learned from our parents, but we don't know that we're doing it. And that's the thing. So when we start looking, and when I start getting my clients to look at the payoff, we can kind of unravel all kinds of things that come up from our childhood. The most important thing to know is it's not about judging whether you should or should not have some kind of payoff for your behavior, because chances are you didn't even realize that you did. But the most important thing is that when we do realize that there is a payoff for us to staying the way that we are and to continuing to do the behaviors that we do, even though we say we don't want to do them, once we know that there is a payoff, that's when we can make a choice. And that's when we can ask ourselves, so how is this working out for me? How is my life for me? Am I enjoying it? Am I enjoying staying stuck in this pattern of behavior, right? Secretly, actually, am I getting off on it? Because you may well be. And if that's the case, then let go of the idea that you need to change for other people. Because if you're happy doing what you're doing, ultimately, it's nobody else's business, is it? However, if your behavior is impacting on other people's quality of life, like your partner, like your parents, like your kids, then you have to ask yourself another question. Okay, do I want to stay like this for the next 10, 20, 30 years? Is this how I want to be remembered? Now, those two questions are pretty poignant, and that's something that I ask my clients to think about. This is getting to the deep heart of stuff, and often we don't want to admit to ourselves what's going on. But unless we can admit to ourselves just what is going on, we are not going to be able to change our thinking and our behavior to get the result that we say we want, which is freedom from feeling completely obsessed with our weight and with food and with calories and with exercise and all that stuff. Now, I'm here if you want me to help you to go through the process of how you get free. And I've mentioned this before. Doing this stuff on your own is possible. I did it, right? I had a little bit of guidance and a little bit of help, and I read a lot. I'm a bit of a geeky nerd, and I found out a lot of information. But it was so hard for me to work out all of the pieces myself. And it took me way longer than it needed to do had I worked with somebody who knew this stuff. The thing is, when I helped myself to get free of all this, there just wasn't the knowledge that there is now. We didn't understand the connection between mental health and the gut. We did not understand how much the importance of vagal tone and exercise plays in how we feel and how we think. We didn't understand just exactly how to reprogram our thoughts, our language, and our thinking, and what power they had on us energetically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. But now we do. And I was fortunate enough to be around when, and helping myself when this research was coming out. And so there's tons of stuff now that we can use to help ourselves. But if you want help with this stuff, it's just so much easier to work with somebody and to seek help, or at least guidance from somebody who's been where you are right now and has come out of the other side. There is a payoff to our behavior, right? Because if there wasn't, we wouldn't keep doing it. We would have decided to change it already because it wasn't serving us. So at some point, we have to acknowledge that there is a payoff for not wanting to change. Now, you may be shouting at the screen to me and going, no, I'm just frightened. I'm so scared. I don't know what I'll be like. And that's part of the payoff, because it's your identity. And it was for me. If you identify as an anorexic, or you identify as an alcoholic, or you identify as a bulimic, then you're saying my identity is my behavior. And it's not. Your identity is who you are inside, not what you do and how you behave. And once we can make the separation between those two things, we can give ourselves permission to change our current identity. And we actually then can be free to be the person that we want to be, not the person that we think we have no choice to be. So I'm going to leave you on that. Bit of a deep one today. Any questions, any comments, please do put them in the comments underneath this video. Put hashtag replay if you're watching on replay. And if you do want to reach out to me personally, then just send me a direct message on Facebook, or you can jump over onto the website and you can book in for a real chat about what is going on. This is not a sales call. It is just literally a let's get curious, let's have a chat call. And if you want to do that, you can hop on over to my website and just have a look at the programs, and there's a button on there that you can just say book a call now. And if that's what you want to do, I look forward to hearing from you. If all I have done is made you think a little bit, then excellent. If I have annoyed you, I'm sorry, but that is the reality and that is the truth. And I keep things simple, but I keep things honest and I keep things truthful, because if you want freedom, you have to get honest about what you were doing and why you were doing it, because only then can you take the responsibility and make the changes that you need to make. Have a great Wednesday, folks, and I hope to hear from some of you real soon. Take care.